All righty. Good morning. Good morning. Today we're going to dig into or continue digging into ACA. And the biggest takeaway I want you guys to figure out today or to get on board with today is how to keep going with your 1-1 effectives. Because there are some really great SEPs out there that you can use to still be writing 1-1 effectives. And then, of course, we have all the way up into 2-1. If, as you continue to write, we'll still have 2-1 business. But right now, you can still focus on 1-1s and get beginning of the year business. I'm also going to walk through how to do payments, what to look for. Some carriers are weird, some are easy. Blue Cross is probably what we do the most of. I wasn't expecting Clarissa on this morning and Jennifer, but they are. They probably have a couple of carriers they could probably even chime in on as far as payments goes, because they do a lot more other carriers than I do up here with where they're located, which might help some of you others out. People are still jumping on. Hold on. So we're going to go through payments, SEPs, 1-1 effectives, and then ultimately a quick overview on how to take docs. So that should take you through the end of the year and hopefully add some more people to your books while you manage your other people. Because one of the biggest ways to lose your ACA business is first, not getting the payment in. They will absolutely cut that payment off just a few days after January 1 if you don't get that payment in. And then you'll have to rewrite them for a 2-1 or they'll lose the insurance entirely. After the first payment, once they get the first payment in, their grace period is actually fairly long, 2 to 3 months, generally, because the government is making their payment as well. But they don't give them very much grace period with that first payment. That first payment, they'll cut them off January 3rd, January 4th. We really try to have all payments made by the end of the year. We don't even mess around. We want them done before the new year to make sure we get those 1-1 effectives actually in, signed, sealed, delivered. The other major way you're going to lose business and not keep it on the books is to not get documents turned in properly. Do not count on your client to do that. For one, they don't know where they're sending it. They send it to the wrong place 90% of the time. If they try to make a healthcare.gov account, they are going to screw up their account. They may even cancel their plan or rewrite something else or create 5 more apps. I've seen it every damn time. Trust me, they do it. Even the most versed person on the internet has a tendency to write 3 apps on themselves trying to go in there and just register. It's the darndest thing I've ever seen. So do them a favor, do yourselves a favor. Take the document yourself and upload it on Health Sherpa yourself so you don't miss that. Yes, Dante, I know you're a big ambetter. We'll go through the ambetters as well. So take payments by 1-1, get the docs in as soon as possible. So every person has a different document date when they're due. Just follow those along and try to get them in at least 30 days before the due date, because it does take the government some time to process them and they will kick back. They kick back for lots of different things. So for clarity. So if the document isn't clear, they will kick it back. If the document doesn't have the person's information on it, like their personal information, their name, birthdays, things like that, they'll kick it back for that. If the document doesn't meet the standards, so depending on what you need to upload, they'll kick it back to that. Now, when they do kick a document back, there is a letter that goes with it that you can see in your Health Sherpa, and you can open it, and not always, but sometimes there is some clarity on what they're wanting or needing and why your document didn't work. If there's no clarity, or if you are sending what they're asking for, then generally either your document is not clear enough to read, you don't have the proper person's information on it, or you need more than one of those documents. So like if you do a pay stub, one pay stub isn't going to work. You need to send 2 or 3 different pay stubs for different weeks to prove they actually have an ongoing job. So things like that. Sometimes it takes more than one document of the similar realm. The document's not clear, or you're just sending the wrong document entirely. So one of the biggest ones I get for documents is the self-employed. What do self-employed people do, especially if they're in new business and they don't have taxes to back it up? They write a letter. Believe it or not, they can write a letter telling the government what they're expecting to do this year. Hey, I started a new job. I'm now in real estate. I expect to make $20,000 this year. It is that simple. Just make sure they put their name, address, who they are, all their pertinent information on it, and sign it, and you can upload it, and the government will accept that. I actually had one a couple years ago that was an incarceration one. We had to prove that he wasn't incarcerated. We sent over the formal court documents that the judge released him, his release date, all that rigmarole. They denied that. You know what they accepted? A letter from the felon stating he was no longer in jail and was out working. And they accepted that, but they wouldn't accept the official court documents. So sometimes what the government wants makes absolutely no sense, as it is the government. So don't feel bad if you feel like you are sending the absolute right information. You probably are, but the government wants something else. Letters, for some reason, seem to work really well in really oddball circumstances. So always remember that. All else fails, get him to write a stupid letter. Seems to work. Don't know why, but it does. As far as writing business right now, so we're in the 19th until the 31st. So Bright Health and Friday, those are the simplest ones, right? Because they've lost their insurance. Come December 31st, they are no longer going to have insurance. So it's no different than Medicare. For all you Medicare agents on here, when a plan goes under, you have an SEP to write that business. So the SEP is actually good for 60 days after it happens. And it's good right now before, because it's projected to lose it. So you can write them right now and put in that they're fixing to lose their insurance on 12/31. It's involuntary. They are losing it, and they will get a 1/1 effective. Now, say you have people you're still getting a hold of in February. Guess what? You can still use that SEP because it hasn't been 60 days. So after 1/1, you have 60 days to continue using that SEP. So for Bright and Friday, we have about 75 days left of enrollment season for those groups. So keep that in mind. And a lot of those people, I promise, have not been handled yet. They never do. They're sleeping cells. It doesn't matter how much pieces of mail. They're not going to realize it until they go to the doctor and show their ID card and they no longer have insurance, because some people are just oblivious like that. It's amazing how many emails you send to your people and how many of them are now calling, oh, I just saw it. Like, well, it's over now. You're too late. You got to come up with some other reason to write them. They're going to be the same way, I promise. And those companies, Bright especially, is in multi-state. So it's not just not just in Texas. They're all over. So I have lots of out-of-state people on here, you guys. Use those SCPs to your advantage. Now, one we're using here, I noticed when I was looking at renewals last week, and I was running some quotes ahead of time, trying to get people on the phone, trying to see who we really had to attend to. In Texas, your Blue Cross 202 plan, the 0750 plan from last year, is a huge problem this year. That plan basically doesn't exist. 0750 is no longer an option. They turned it into a 0900, and then they also turned it into a 203,000, depending on their income level. It was a free plan for most of those people, or very, very low cost, and it's jumping up to hundreds of dollars. That is a huge problem. If you got people on the 202 plan, get their attention, get them switched, because they're going to have a problem. If you don't switch them now, you're going to end up with very, very angry clients in January. That's going to be like, well, I got a letter from Blue Cross that said, well, I know what the letter says and it's wrong. That's why we call you. So get on to those people, tell them they need to get with you. You've got to switch that plan. And we're using the same SCP for those as we're doing for Friday and Bright, because in my opinion, the plan is not the same. So the plan is going away and it's going through. You're just going to have to get on Health Sherpa, Leela, and play with it to see what's in your area. I'm not as familiar with Illinois' area to know off the top of my head. But if you had Bright or Friday, I would probably start looking at those carriers first and simplify it for yourself. There's always plans that kind of adjust throughout the year. And the longer you do this and the bigger book you have, you're going to know what planes are super popular in your area and what planes you got to watch for. The 202 and the 205 in Texas for Blue Cross are insane when they qualify. That's the silver plans that get the cost sharing reduction. So if they're not getting cost sharing reduction, they're probably not on that plan anyways. But for people who are getting the cost sharing reduction are low income, and they definitely cannot take the rate hike that's going to happen on that 202 plan. And the 205 plan, I've seen it too. It's happening. But the problem is when they leave the 205, they're going to have to go to a high max out of pocket. And so we've had lots of very serious conversations with people, because I know their health, be like, you need to pay the $100 a month and keep the 205, because all in you're still at like $2,500 for the year, where you're in bad enough health, even though you're going to this free plane, you're going to be out of pocket $9,100. That's insane. Spend the $100, keep the 205, keep the cost sharing. At the end of the year, you'll end up saving way more money than going up to a free plan. So it's okay to have those hard conversations with your clients. That is really what you are supposed to be, because they don't understand the plans like we do. They know, most people can recognize the deductible, copays, and the cost. Unless you break down how the max works, most people do not understand that, truly. Okay, they're changing. They're not technically going away. The 205 is very much the same. The 202 is the one that is absolutely not looking like it looked last year. But the 205 is getting a rate hike. The 750 is, I don't think we have a 750. I think we have a 705, and that's a newer plan. So dig through your plans, see what's changing. I'm not afraid to put a 1231 loss of coverage on that, because in my opinion, they're losing the coverage. It's not the same. And then switch them, and they're going through. Right, Health Friday going through. Just that alone, you should be writing a ton of 1-1 business without having to search too hard, because those opportunities are out there. People coming off of group, still write them. People coming off of those US health plans. A lot of people get suckered into those and then come off. Well, they cancel it or they get canceled. That's an SCP. They've lost insurance. And I have put those in as loss of insurance. And when they get their termination letter, I've sent it in, the government accepts it. So it hasn't ever been an issue. The family glitch. That one, really, yes, US health plan, Cindy. That one, people are not utilizing yet. And I knew this would happen. We're only getting a few calls about it because nobody knows about it. It's not really advertised. So unless they had that conversation to begin with and knew it was coming or knew about it, they don't really know it's a thing now. So look for those people that have, those families that are paying absorbent amounts of insurance that you can move over into the marketplace.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Yes, Rebecca, I've never had a problem with that. It's technically not credible coverage, So I think that's the workaround. They don't cover pre-existing conditions. They don't really cover preventative care. They don't really cover maternity. It doesn't meet the 10 essential requirements of Obamacare. Pretty much any plan that doesn't meet the 10 essential requirements has an automatic SEP, whether it's group health, voluntary plans picked. I've never had a problem using that. I'm gonna, hold on, get my health Sherpa pulled up here. Share my screen. Okay. So when you're in your Health Sherpa account, these little toolbars up here are your friends, guys. You know, who needs a payment? Action needed. It's going to sort through all your people and it's going to pull up who needs payment. So right now we have 151 people that need a payment still. So we'll go through those one at a time and get their payments in. Let me see. And you'll see things like this. And sort through these first. Open, there it goes. This is somebody who has a $0 plan. So technically payment's not being needed, but it is requesting you make the payment. See, pay needed, but it's a $0 plan. So if you see that, go ahead and pick the payment. And then it's going to send you over here. And this is a Blue Cross payment. And it's going to look the same for everybody, whether it's a $0 plan or an actual pay plan. You're going to do it the same way. So it's going to show all the subsidies. The proxy statement, I never clicked. It's optional. He's primary. And then you could, if there's a spouse or children, you pick those. And then you have, with Blue Cross, you have 3 options. You have electronic funds transfer, so out of the bank account, credit or debit card, or a bill me. On $0 plans, we just pick bill me because we're just trying to get this pushed through to get it activated. If you're going to do auto draft, it has to be EFT. They will not do an auto draft with Blue Cross on a credit card. Not all carriers are that way. Other carriers will let you do an auto draft on a credit card. Blue Cross will not. It has to be a bank account. And then, or you can bill them. Down here, you need to, this is where you pick your doctor. So you hit find doctor. If they have a specific doctor they want to use, it's going to take you right to the doctor portal. You can pick your doctor. And then what you're looking for is this PCP ID number. And then you're going to highlight that. And then you're going to come back to your payment screen, which is still open. It's just open in a different tab. So just toggle back over there. You're going to enter your PCP number. You're going to click the consumer choice disclosure. Y'all might want to read that one time. I've read it enough times over the last 10 years. You don't need to read it anymore. But if you've never read it, you should read it so you know what the heck you're clicking for your people. And then if everything else is done, then you hit submit. Because this is a bill me. Now, if this was an actual EFT or credit card, when you hit submit, it's actually going to take you to the payment screen where you plug in the payment details and or the credit card details. On the payment screen is where you can also set up an auto draft. So there'll be a button. Do you want to set up auto draft to go with this? Yes. Remember, it only works with Blue Cross Texas if it's a bank account. And then what we do here is we'll print this confirmation off and save it to their file, because we have proof that when this was done, and then it's requested effective 1/1. There have been many times where they have made the payment, the company has not collected the payment, and we've had to go back and prove that we submitted payment, so it's absolutely your fault that you didn't take that payment. And we have won those battles many times doing that. So once you do that and you come back over here, don't freak out because it's still going to say pay. Even when I hit refresh, a button is still going to be there. That button may be there 24 hours. It may be there 48 hours. It may be there a few days. Don't worry about it. If you made the payment and have your confirmation receipt, you're fine. Now, they're also asking to verify income. Now, I don't have his income verification yet, but what you do is when you have it, you're going to hit verify. You're going to select your document, whether, they want income. So 1040 tax return, W-2, pay stub, self-employment documentation, Social Security, whatever your document is, you're going to select that. And then you're going to select the file from your computer, and then you're going to upload it. I recommend using PDFs. They seem to work better. And then once you've uploaded, under upload history, it'll show it down here that you've uploaded it. So that person we just did is still showing here. Again, don't stress over that because you know you did it. Now, let's see if we have a different one. Crossing that. Trying to find an and better. Well, here's a Scott White. This one's new for us. So let's take a look at this one. Oh, that one's already been taken care of. So on the $0 plans, they do get pushed through if you don't push them through at some point. Some are faster than others. So if they're there, I'll push them through. But if they're not, if they've already done it, then there's nothing to do. So this one, there's nothing to do. Hey, they added a new button. Do not auto renew this plan for 2024. That button has never been there. That's very interesting. I wonder what they're preempting. I'll have to dig into that and figure that out because that's new. Let's go back. Let's find another one. See if this one's already done. Now, I do get emails from the carriers from time to time that tell us all the different ways you can make payments. As I get those, I'll shoot those over to y'all. Okay, here's one. Here's a Blue Cross that hasn't been done yet. So $0 plan. You notice he doesn't have a pay premium button on here. They don't all always do that, but it's down here, so you can find it down here. The other thing is I wanted to point out right here. See, it has a payment phone number. So on the ones that you're having trouble, if you're having trouble doing like a click-through payment, like online, you can give the client this phone number and they can call in and make the payment over the phone as well. Okay, so this is what the Blue Cross payment portal looks, or not Blue Cross, Scott and White payment portal looks like. $0 payment scheduled, 0 auto pay scheduled. You can go paperless. Make a payment. So it looks like make a payments over here. Says no payment required. No payment required. So this one, they, even though it hasn't been pushed through, unlike the Blue Cross, they understand that there's no payment actually required, so they're not going to have you do anything. But when you need to do a payment, this is where you're going to go. And right here, it says make a payment. So that's what the button you're going to click, and you're just going to follow it through. Most of the plans are going to have these little portals that you can do it through, and it's not going to be a problem. And on the few and far there is, just use the payment hotline and you can do it that way. See if I can find an even better one for you.
Hey, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah, on those Scott and White plans, what you were looking at, there were 2 separate plans that were available. And so whoever's signed folks up for that, especially if you move somebody from Friday or Bright, a lot of people got automatically put into a Scott and White plan. So if you put them in a different Scott and White plan, be sure that you're picking the plan that you put them in when you set up the, when you do the payment process part.
Oh, good. Yeah. That would be smart. So if you got multiple plans there, yeah, definitely make sure you're picking your plan. Good information. I didn't know they did that because Blue Cross and Ambetter and them don't do it that way.
Yeah, that's why that button was grayed out and not selectable, is because there were 2 plans showing for that particular client on the Scott and White one. And then I have a question too on the Brighton Friday special enrollment period that you were talking about. Even if they've been switched to another plan, it's still okay to do January 1 effective date because they're losing coverage.
Well, they didn't pick that.
Right.
So I don't see why not.
Okay.
That wasn't voluntary. They didn't voluntarily pick that plan. And if honestly, if they get a thing saying, you know, proof of something, I would have them write a letter and be like, I did not choose this plan. I did not authorize it. And I am choosing this other plan instead. Which is all true. So I'm not too sure how they're going to argue with that, right?
Right. And then is there a specific format of letter that you've had better luck with in the past, like for self-employed income verification? Like, are there elements that have to be included in each letter? Or?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the top, they got it, you know, name, birthday, address, FFM number, their ID number. And then they just write like a letter and it's very simple. I try to keep it very simple. That sometimes less information is more, and just be like, I recently quit my job. I started a business. I'm now going to be selling AC units or whatever it is. My projected income for next year is da 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 da, and I sign it and date it, and those seem to work just fine. I mean, they can send over P&L statements if they've been in business a while. Those are complicated for a lot of people, especially newer business people. They don't really know how that is, or they're not running off of QuickBooks if they can do that. So I just have them write letters. It works every time. Let's see. Here is an Ambetter. So this one has the button. Also has a carrier payment phone number. So current amount due 0. So again, this is $0. So that I don't have somebody with a credit card on hand where I can run one for you, or else I would. But you can see Ambetter has a portal direct too. So most of these people have portals at this point. Early on in the days, it was a mess. Like paying a payment, the first payment was horrible. Nowadays, they almost all have a portal. You can just click on and it's going to take you over to the portal. Just follow the steps. It's no different than buying something off of Amazon. Everybody here knows how to use their credit card and their bank account information to buy things. So, I mean, it's really simple. My biggest recommendation, though, is on that final screen, that confirmation screen, is that you make a copy of it. I can give it to your client and then save one for yourself in case you ever have to go back and fight that you did make this payment, because I that has happened and that has been problematic because they're getting so many payments that just like quotes and stuff, things get lost. So if you can prove up that they did it, then it's on them. They'll reinstate and get it all fixed. Trying to think, I think I have one girl that always seems to need a document. So again, I search them just like this. So documents needed. And it'll tell you when the document is needed by. So this guy here, you go into their system, they have to have income verification by March 16th. So we want to get that income verification over there by February 1st is our goal here in the office. So they have plenty of time to make sure it processes or kick it out. We still have enough time to upload something else. Now, generally what will happen if they kick it out, they'll extend the deadline a couple more weeks and give you some extra time to get a new document in, but not always. And usually it's not a ton of time, but it is a little bit more time generally if they kick it out. So you're just going to upload it there. But each one, and also tells you here, so I usually sort these. So we got 167 of these that need income. I usually want to do the earliest ones first. So here's a 2-1. And I know there's a ton of 1-1s here. We just got to find them. But there's one girl that usually almost always has to do documents. Find her. See if she has to do documents or if we've already done it. They never seem to get her social security card figured out. We have to send it over every year. Yep, there it goes. Verify social security. So you're gonna click on this. We're gonna see, I know I got something on her, so let's see what we got on her. Now I keep a drive on everybody, you guys. So this is my drive. If you can all see that, it's alphabetical order. And I load it. We have a full server system here that it all stays under, and it's triple backed up. Oh, good. I have her social right there. So we're going to upload a social security card and upload it. And it's literally that simple. And then it shows here the time and date I uploaded it, and then it's processing. And she had a 2-week deadline. So it's that simple to upload stuff. But like I said, I keep a server system and we keep everything on file. It's secure. It's super backed up. That's where I'm housing all my call recordings that we did for AEP on it. It's eating up the space like you can't believe, but they're safe and they're there. Some people will use Google, your Google Cloud drives, things like that. That's okay too. The only problem with that is sometimes organization in there can be hard. So if you're really good at building those out, then you'll have better luck with it. My husband actually built out our server system. And the only problem I have with the server system personally is if you're not in the office, you can't access it. So it's a safety measure, right? But the problem with that for me and for a lot of you, because you're field agents, independent agents, you couldn't access it while you're on the road, where like your cloud drives, you can. So when you're trying to design, you know, where you want to house your storage is something to think about. Fortunately, I have staff, so I can always just reach out to the staff and be like, hey, put this in their HubSpot, which is our CRM, and then I can access it on the road if I need to, like it's a specific document I need to get to. But our server is not accessible when I'm on the road. So that's something for y'all to think about when you're building out your stuff. Do you want something that's really secure? The server is way more secure. And it's physical, right? It's a tangible piece of equipment. So when they fill up, we can pull them and save them if we need to, or back them up on another drive and then save it in a storage closet where it's tangible. Or do you want to go 100% cloud-based? So that's to each their own. And something for y'all to figure out. The storage is going to be a real issue this coming year because of all the cloud, the recordings we're having to do. And I know most of you do Medicare too, so it's going to be an issue for all of you. Something to think about. How do I, let's see, a generic payment portal. So like Blue Cross, I sent y'all an email, or several of you an email on that one. As they come in from the emails, I'll send them over to you. There's not really like a generic one. It's only the carriers pay premium. Maybe, let's see. Let's go back to share screen. Let me look at something. Might be able to. You click the pay button. You might have already done this guy. Let's look at him. This one's already taken care of. What I was thinking, Kate, is if you click on the pay button and it takes you to the portal, that you might be able to grab the URL once you're in it and send that over. That might be worth a try. Maybe do it for like somebody on your own and see if it, like you just copy it for yourself, click out of your systems, and then click the URL in there and see if it takes you right there. That might work. I know with some companies, they can set up their online account. They can just go to the carrier and set up their official online account, and then they can make a payment through their online account too. For a lot of the carriers, though, this is where you pick your doctor, and your clients don't know how to do that. So we don't generally just send out a generic payment. If they're talking using the phone number and talking to somebody at the company, they'll ask them generally what doctor they want on the card. In that conversation, they can tell them there, and then the company can add it. But if they're just doing it on their own, they don't know how to put a doctor in. So a lot of times that'll get missed, because you can submit without a doctor on there. And then the company will just put a random doctor on there, and it won't be the one they want. And then you got to go back and fix it anyways. But I will warn you, with Blue Cross, even when you put the doctor on there, they don't really pay attention to it. You got to fix those anyways. So pay attention to your Blue Cross ones, especially when you're calling about their ID cards. Have them actually physically look at their ID card and make sure the right doctor's on it with Blue Cross, because a lot of times it's not. The other carriers I don't have as much trouble with, unless they were auto-assigned a doctor, if you didn't pick one. But Blue Cross is really known for wasting trees and ID cards. Just FYI. Any questions on SCPs, how to upload documents, payments?
Hi, Rebecca. Good morning. This is Adriana Liva, Chicago, with Leila Mendez. As
Yes,
an
ma'am.
upline. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right, thank you. I had this enrollment done through the through ACA, through the Sherpa portal. I did this enrollment on December 6th, and it came out like my client might be eligible for Medicaid benefits. I called Sherpa support line, and they told me that my client needed to receive a letter from the state of Illinois, right? Either denying the Medicare benefits or approving Medicaid benefits. My client is still waiting for that letter. According to the Sherpa customer service lady, told me that as soon as she receives a letter, whether it's, let's say it's denied, that it will open an SCP. Is that correct?
It is. So denial of
Mhm.
Medicaid is absolutely an SCP. So there is, just like all the SCPs, there'll be a button in there that says lost Medicaid or denied Medicaid. You're going to click that, and then it's going to ask when, and then you're going to put in your date, and then it's going to ask another really wonky question if they applied basically during open enrollment. And if they didn't apply during open enrollment, they generally won't get the SCP. So you got to mark that they applied during the enrollment window to get the SCP.
Okay, do you know how long it'll take for her to receive the letter?
Every
I know you're not
state's
in Illinois.
different.
Uh-huh.
Texas is like 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh.
Every state's a little different. Sometimes if you have a state portal, like in Texas, we have yourtexashealth.com. Sometimes you can see it faster in there if you like go looking for it. Or they can call, and if they tell them over the phone they were denied, then you can go ahead and do the SCP. The letter will be on its way.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Disasters, Florida. You know, I've never really heard of an ACA disaster. Clarissa, are you still on the call? She may not be. I've never actually heard, I don't know why it wouldn't though. There's not a button for it, I'll tell you that. You know, like on Medicare, you click SCP and then you can write in disaster. The ones on the government portal are very specific. Like they're asking very specific questions. Did you lose health insurance? Did you get denied Medicaid? You know, those are like very specific questions. There isn't like a generic question where you just pick other and select something. So I bet you could get it through, but I bet it would have to be like a 3-way call with healthcare.gov to get it through. And have them do it on the back end. It's probably the Oscar one, because Oscar pulled out 2 days before the end of open enrollment on that SCP. But technically you have 60 days, not just 15. But they're probably giving them until 1/15, maybe even to get a 1/1 effective. They might be backdating those because it happened like right there at the end and they were enrolling people and then all of a sudden they weren't. Which kind of is scary because that makes me wonder if Oscar is going to be the next Friday or Bright, but they bid really strong. So I don't know what's going on there. That was really weird. I think they couldn't handle all the people coming off those other carriers. It was just too much business.
Hey, Rebecca.
Yes.
So Daniel and Aslan have had issues, big issues with the people getting switched just to another agent. Like it's, you know, like hopping back and forth. I mean, they don't even have very many people, like out of 15, 4, you know, just keep getting switched. Like I've been switched several times. Aslan's has one. It's like, really, what do we do?
Well, you probably have another agent fighting for the business.
Well, but they dealt with them. They're very directly, I mean, and Aslan's
Well,
open
I know for a
calling
fact.
them and Yeah.
will tell you this. I guarantee you have another agent fighting for the business. Because I know for a fact, I don't know whose client it is. I have no idea. But Myra, so I know a lot of you know who Myra is, reached out to me. And funny enough, the only reason I know because it has my NPN number on it, but I didn't write the business. So one of y'all that did my NPN override wrote the business. She called me. She's like, there's a client that you guys keep pulling away from one of my agents.
Oh my gosh, maybe it's one of them. Who is it? No,
I
but-
started laughing. I'm like, well, it's possible. What's the name? And she wouldn't give me the name.
Well, maybe we.
But I was like, how do you know it's one of my people? Because when she goes in, what she does is she pulls it off healthcare.gov. They go into healthcare.gov and looked and saw who the agent was.
But she would, I mean, if these kids, we're talking to people and doing the right.
Well, I realize that, Jeannie, but I guarantee you Myra's agent is talking to her people too. I mean, I guarantee it. So, people are just
Okay, well, I'm definitely talking about people with, they call and say, have you spoken with anyone else? Are you working with anyone? And they're like, no. Of course, we know people say that and it's not always true. But anyway, okay.
I just thought it was funny. Myra thought it was kind of funny too. We had a good laugh about it. I'm like, what are we gonna do? I mean, if the clients are, clients are so funny years on this too. Half the time they don't even realize they're talking to different people.
True. Good. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but some people just don't pay any kind of attention, right? If it's two women, let's say two women agents, all they know is a female voice that's handling their health insurance and they're not paying any attention. That's how we get clients switched all the time from Medicare. They tell them they're calling with Cannibal Insurance when they're not. They're a carrier rep, but they can see who's the agent of record. So they reference our name and they think they're talking to one of my people. I see it all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Last app wins. Last app in wins.
Okay.
And then some of it, if the government did a little auto renewing, if it's one of those plans, sometimes you just got to go put them back because sometimes that crossed 16th. A lot of things happen on the 16th. So if you haven't looked at your book since the 16th, I would go back and look at my book. And if something happened to one of your people, it was probably something the government did. Just go back in there, update it, and pull it back in. Change it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So for those of you that are finding hotspots with or working leads or whatever with Friday and Bright, we've been saying your plan's not carrying on for next year. It's going to be canceled. They're going to auto renew you. So the verbiage is probably going to change now because they did get auto renewed by the government, right? Problem is they didn't get a chance to pick their own plan. Their plan that they got put in may not even take their doctors. So there's a lot of different verbiage now you can use, things like, hey, if you were auto enrolled into a plan that you don't like, you can still switch it. You're not married to it. You're not locked into it. We can still switch it. Call us. Or did you know you were auto renewed into a plan? Do you even know what that is? Let's go over those benefits and see if it's the right fit for you or if we need to change it. So there's a lot of different verbiage there you can play with and use. It's a little different now because as of the 16th, those people on Friday and Bright, a plan was chosen for them, whether they know it or not. And it's probably not a good plan or the right plan. So change your verbiage up a little bit with those people and swing back around and continue working them. Those people can still get a 1/1 effective. So they were auto renewed. They didn't choose that plan. Their plan is still technically canceling on 12/31. So, you still have my plan is canceling on 12/31 SCP to use. What day? you know, we kind of check them quite often until we get to about March, Kate. And then we just kind of let it be. We'll find one here and there, but usually it's not too bad. What you need to watch out for is the document, losing the documents and things like that. Because generally, once you're the AOR, that stays in there. Once you've verified after the renewal process. So here's the thing, if they renew your client may not show in Health Sherpa as renewed. So you'll have to go in there and pull them from the marketplace to look, get them back into your portal to show the 2023. And then you can see there if you're still AOR. And then what I'll do, even if I see it there, I'll cross-reference it with the carrier and make sure their plan is still showing in my system. And then what happens too on Health Sherpa, it may not show that I'm AOR, but then if I go into the carrier portal, I will still have the plan in my carrier portal. So sometimes it's hit and miss with Health Sherpa if you're going to show AOR, if somebody pulled you off. Now, if the government pulled you off but didn't assign anybody, and the carrier, if the carrier is protective, you will still have that client in your system and you will still get paid for it. We will go in there. If this is a client we're speaking to regularly, this is a true client, we'll go in there and change the income by $1 and we'll make them our client again if they're not. So don't be afraid to do that. If it's your actual client and the government just auto renewed them or you can get a hold of them, I just go in there and change their income by $1, push everything back through and get my AOR back on there. But even sometimes when it doesn't show in Health Sherpa, it will be in your carrier portal that you are still the agent of record if they didn't put anybody else on there. You can't on the MTN override. You'll just have to let us know. Those of you that are using an MPN override right now because you're waiting for your contracts to come through, make sure you're doing a Google sheet on your people that you use that for, put the client's name, put the plane you wrote them on, like their effective date. And that way, in the carrier, that way we can cross-reference and make sure we get you paid. Now, ACA is a little different than Medicare on payments if you guys are new. Some carriers are 60 days behind, some carriers are 90 days behind. Last year, I didn't get paid on Bright for 6 months. It took them 6 months to finally pay me. It's frustrating, I know it is, but it's not uncommon. So don't think about it being uncommon. Now, if you're already doing business with a carrier, those seem to pick up a lot quicker than somebody who's never wrote an ACA plan with that carrier before. So keep that in mind. So if you've been writing business, like if you've been writing and better business all this time, you got a bunch of new and better business, that business is going to show up faster for you than for somebody who's never sold and better before or is brand new to ACA. Those seem to take a little longer to produce and show up because they are running behind. Because right now, like, we just got paid, well, probably today, Blue Cross for November and Better for October. So just know that they're kind of behind, but as long as they're on the books, even if they fall off, but they were on for those months, you're going to still get a paycheck for those. They will pay you because it isn't as earned paycheck and not advance. So keep that in mind. So as the clients pay them in everything they reconcile, then they pay us. So it works a little differently because it is as earned. But the nice thing about it is you don't get chargebacks. I've seen a real chargeback like once, and that was on a girl we actually got paid for, and she had multiple writing numbers, and I guess they paid her on several writing numbers or something. I don't know. We ended up getting a big chargeback on her, but that's the only time I've ever seen that. So just a little fair warning on the ACA. Now on the ACA, for those of you who are newer, that we pay out, so like Blue Cross Texas, a lot of that we pay out. We pay out the first of, we pay out once a month towards the first. So we try to have all the commissions done by the 10th of the month. we're a smaller operation compared to a lot of the big FMOs. So we're literally, me and my assistant are literally going through everything and scrubbing everything by hand and paying. So it does take us a minute to do that for all of you. It's not quite, we don't just get to click a button and have it done. We actually have to manually do it. So put those Google Sheets together for us to make scrub against them and know you guys are getting paid. Any other questions? All right. Well, happy continuing your OEP, AEP. If you're trying to find your business, Kate, yes, pull the 2023 because you're trying to reference if you're the agent of record for 2023. Thanks, y'all. Have a great Monday. Merry Christmas. If I don't see or talk to you before then, it's this weekend. Hope y'all have an amazing Christmas.